The new airport coming to Sydney. Should you be buying around there? Hi, it's Nero here from Investment Rise, and over the last few months as I've been helping people find properties in great growth locations where the properties are really easy to get rented and where the rent covers the mortgage, a common question I've been getting is, we know with the new airport coming in Sydney, is now a good time to be buying around the airport in Western Sydney? And that's really what I want to clarify in this video, because one thing is for certain. Eventually, prices around Badgery Creek and around the airport, prices will rise. However, remember, construction on the airport is only due to complete in 2026. That's 7 years from when I'm recording this video. All right, so the question is now a time to buy? Is now a good time to be buying around Western Sydney, around that second airport? All right, and let's look at a few suburbs just to give you some data before I give you my rationale about what you should be doing. Let's say, for example, a suburb like Leppington. The vacancy right now is 5%. Now, if you've seen any of my past videos, you know that I look at areas where we look for what I call the magic of 3%. Now, in other words, I want to only invest in areas where there's a vacancy rate of 3% or less, which means that then you're buying in a market that's undersupplied, or translation, there are more potential tenants looking for properties than properties available for rent. That's the kind of market you want to be buying in. So when you buy in a market with a vacancy rate of 5%, that means it's oversupplied. That means there are more properties available for rent than potential tenants are looking for properties, which means you're going to struggle to get your property rented. You may even have to drop the rent in order to get a tenant, and more than likely the rent isn't going to come anywhere near covering the mortgage. Also, prices in Leppington have dropped. According to realestate.com.au, since their peak in December 2018, they've dropped $130,000. What about another area like St. Mary's? Currently the vacancy rate thankfully has dropped back to about 3%. So it's gone from being an oversupplied market to now being somewhat of a balanced market. But prices again have dropped since their peak in December 2017 by about $67,000. And a third suburb to look at randomly, say Ingleburn, near Campbelltown. The vacancy right now is well over 3%, so it's an oversupplied market, and prices have dropped $50,000 since their peak in December 2018. So what does all this tell you? Well, what it tells you is that although, yes, we have a lot of obviously infrastructure coming as a result of Badgery Creek Airport, right now may not be the time to buy around that area if you're someone who wants to find a property where it's easy to get the property rented, where the rent covers the mortgage, because it's highly likely that will not happen. However, Western Sydney and around Badgery Creek should be an area that should be on your watch list. What you want to see is that prices stop dropping as they are continuing to do in many areas around there. Instead, you want to see them go flat, and you want to see a bit of an upturn. You want to see prices start to rise, because unless you have a working crystal ball, nobody can really pick the bottom of the market, right? Least of all myself. So I want to see prices come off their bottom, because what always worries me is when people say, now is the bottom of the market. I'm like, how do you know? I mean, none of us know what's going to stop prices dropping further. All right, so what you want to see is prices really go flat for a while and a bit of an upturn in prices, around about sort of 8 to 10% increase in prices. Then you know that's a good time to buy for future capital growth, because you're buying in a growing market, not a flat market, number one. Number two, what you also want to see is that the rental vacancy really tightens up to be well under 3%, preferably under 2%, which means then that you know that the properties will more than likely be fairly easy to get rented. And then you also need to do your cash flow numbers to see, well, what's the rental income on a particular property that you're looking at around Badgery Creek, and will the rent cover the mortgage? Okay. Now, having said that, there are people who are currently buying in around Badgery Creek who I believe will make money. Why? Because their strategy is different. They're not interested in rental income. They're land banking. They've got serious access to cash, or let me rephrase that. They've got access to some serious cash that they can buy large amounts of land, or they can buy older properties on bigger blocks, and they're just going to hold it and wait. And they're not interested in rental income. They're not interested in anything of that nature. They're playing the longer game because they have surplus cash flow every month from their incomes or their businesses. So therefore, they can afford to wait. If that's you, if you can afford to wait several years for growth, if you can afford to hold properties without the rents covering the mortgage, then maybe Badgery's Creek could be something for you to look at. But for most people looking to invest, that probably isn't the market that you want to be looking at, especially if you're serious about building a portfolio. Why? Because you want to be buying properties where, as I said a few times already, the rents come close to covering the mortgage, so your cash flow isn't impacted. You're buying in markets that are growing right now, so you can get capital growth, so you can build your equity, so that if you do decide to buy in Badgery Creek in the future, you're in a much better position. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you found this video valuable and you're thinking you might like my help to help you find an investment property, then head on over to nerocall.com to discover our unique 5-step process that's helped my private client group purchase now well over $66.2 million worth of property. And then if you like what you see, you can book in for a free half-hour phone consult with me personally. Either way, thanks again for watching.